Thank you for reminding me. Okay, great. So then from here to our forms, we can take this form. Now this might be something really beneficial for you because if you have a member that says, oh, I want to register for this thing, but I just don't have time to take the form. You know, people do that kind of stuff all the time. You can search. This will bring up your entire database.
Wow.
You can search the member that you want to take the form for. As an admin, you can select their profile and you can proceed as that member, and you can actually just take the form on their behalf for them.
Oh, perfect. Okay. How did you do that again? Oh, take the form action. Okay.
Yeah. I just did take this form, and then it'll bring you right to all of those members, and you can search them, find, select, and then proceed as Abigail. Now, if it's somebody that you don't have in your database, you can also create a new account by just proceeding as new profile.
Okay, great.
We can also edit our forms. Now, once a form submission has been created, a form is no longer deletable, and any form field on the form, I'm going to say the word form a lot today, any form field on the form is not going to be editable once you've collected information in that field. So if you ask for somebody's phone number, but you didn't make it required, if nobody fills it out, you can edit that and change it. But the second somebody plugs their phone number in there, you can no longer edit that field within the form.
Okay, okay.
Something that I think will be really helpful for you is if a lot of these RSVP or event type forms are all kind of the same, you can just copy them and then change the name, and if you want you can change fields in there, but this will help you kind of just quickly get new forms up and running if you need to.
Right. Okay, great.
And then we have this delete option. Of course, once form submissions are created, that's when we will no longer be able to delete these forms.
Okay.
Okay. So I went ahead and got in here into your membership application. So right now I just want to edit this with you so we can look at it together. So I'm going to select Edit, and this is going to take us to our Form Builder. The Form Builder is made up of two different sides. So we have a left column and a right column. The right column is just going to be basically a rough draft of what our form will look like on the front end. So it's like a not so pretty, still in progress kind of version of the form.
Okay, okay.
The left-hand side, you'll notice there are three different tabs up here. Form settings are going to be general settings for the form as a whole. So to walk through these different items, we have the form name. Now, once again, this is not what your members will see. This is only what you'll see. The form name that your members will see are going to be inside these tabs. We'll get into that a little bit more in just a second.
Okay, okay.
We have our form alias. So that's the same thing as when we were looking at content. It's going to be that name that comes after the / to create our URL for us.
Okay.
We are allowed to publish this form. So this is automatically going to be toggled off. This is one thing you'll always want to do is come into your form settings immediately and toggle this publish form on.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're going to create a form and you're going to be like, why can't I see it? And I've done that so many times, and it's always because I forgot that step. If it's an event, then we can enable a form expiration date. We can set our group permissions. Now, have we talked about the differences between member types and groups?
I'm not sure. I feel like we've like mentioned it sort of briefly, but if you want to go over that again, that would be great.
Absolutely. I never mind going over again something again. So you'll see the word member type and you'll see the word group a lot in our system. Member types and groups are kind of mirror images of each other. So a member type is what controls your members' dues amount and membership period. The group determines permissions in the system.
Okay.
So for your different member types, like maybe your independent regular members, this is just the same as your member type, but the group's going to decide what they can and cannot do in the system. So in this case, for forms, we're going to use this to say who can see this form. So if you don't want all of your members to be able to see this form, you can limit it by unselecting those people that you don't want to see it.
Got it.
Okay. We can set up date-based pricing, so this would be for like early bird pricing. And then we can set up discount codes.
Okay.
Discount codes do not apply to membership applications, but they do apply to just general forms as well as event forms.
Okay.
And then we can set up forward. This forward URL is the second they hit submit on the form, where do they go? So generally they're just going to go back to the main page of your MemberClick site.
Mhm.
But if you want them to go, in your case, you probably will. If you want them to go directly back to your homepage of your existing NCGS site, then we'll just
Uh-huh.
plug that URL in there. So what we would do is just grab your link, and I'm going to plug it. So the second they hit submit on the form, it's going to take them right back to the homepage of your current existing site.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. So this is everything for form settings. This tab will never change. It's always going to be the same. And like I said, just general overall form settings.
Okay.
The
So
next
I have
tab is
a quick question regarding the discount for members. So why can't you do discounts for membership applications?
so the dues amounts for membership applications, remember how we set them up in that different member type section?
Yes. Yes.
So it's pulling the amount from that area. In
Okay.
events and general sections, we can actually create fields that have money amounts tied to them, and I'm going to show you where we can do that.
Okay.
So since it's pulling from that member type section, we can't. They don't really. I don't think they communicate the right way.
Oh,
It's
okay.
it's something that's kind of like on our to-do list to change, but that would be some like huge changes in the system that we would have to do. It's kind of always been like we need to be able to offer this, but like at this time we just can't.
Right. Right.
And it's just
Okay.
because
Because
it's pulling.
because we often give discounts, especially to new schools. Usually like a 50% discount for the first year, 25. So we'll have to think about a workaround for that.
Yeah, I have some workarounds up my sleeve that I've done in the past, and I'm trying to think how I've done that. As we walk through our forms training, I might think of it, and I might be able to offer some different solutions. If not, we can follow back up on it on our next call, and I'll talk to my
Okay.
team on it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I'm wondering right now. I need to stop. Okay, yeah, I'm just going to keep moving. I know you can issue credit memos,
Oh, okay.
and you can always well, I'll keep thinking on it.
Okay.
So this is overall form settings. So then we have our second tab, Add Form Elements. This is how we're going to add different fields to the form itself. We're going to walk through what each of these different ones mean, but some of these words probably look similar to what we've discussed in the past, like built-in attributes, custom attributes. And then lastly, we have element properties. So in this case, I clicked on the properties for this entire section. So let's take a peek at these different elements on the right-hand side. Anything that has this little tab at the top, see how it ended? This is a section. This is considered our our login section.
Okay.
Then in this case,
so like if we place this membership application on our website, let's say we have a link just on our website that says, join now, then they would click there, they would be taken to the login section, would need to create a profile, and then they can complete the membership application?
That's exactly right.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we'll walk through what that looks like together.
Okay, perfect.
So then the next section, so when we checked those boxes in the beginning when we were creating this form, those boxes decided what sections this form gave me. So when I chose membership application, it went ahead and gave me this section here, which is the membership section. Of course, I pulled in all of these fields, and we're going to walk through how I did that, but it created the membership section for me. If I had chosen event section, you would have still seen this membership section, but it would have been grayed out. There's always a membership application section on every form that you ever create. It's just whether or not it's enabled or not. So if I look at the properties, and these are element properties for this specific section, not for the entire form, then you'll see I can turn this section on and off. So you'll always see that. Now, if we had chosen an event section, if we had chosen that event box, there would be an event section that would be big here that we could fill information into. But we'll continue to look at that, and I think it'll make more sense as we move through.
Okay.
So then we have our login section. So once again, if we click on any of these fields, it's going to take us to the properties of this particular element.
Okay.
So this text is going to show up for your members. If you want to change it, all you have to do, if you ever want to change anything on any type of form, all you have to do is click the field that you want to change, and then it's going to give you some options. In this case, all you can do is edit the label text.
Okay.
So this is how you can change the text in that text box.
Okay, perfect.
You can do the same thing for new users. If you want to add some additional text, you can do that here.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be everything for the login section. Moving into the membership section, it has some of its own items that we would have to complete. So in this case, it comes already with this member type and membership options. So what that's doing is allowing you to decide, if I'm new and I'm a prospect and I'm coming here to take this membership application, there's going to be this drop down. And this is telling us what my drop down looks like. So can I choose all of your member types? No, because I definitely don't need to choose admin. But if I could be any of these additional member types, then the drop down would offer any of these options for me. Now, if you only want this form to be just for your independent regular, then we would just uncheck all these others.
Okay.
And that means when I take this form, there's only going to be one option for a member type for me.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does. I wonder, because I'm thinking about for a prospective school, so let's say we have an international independent school, how are they, like based on the wording that we're using for our member type, I'm a little worried that they're not going to understand exactly what that means. You know what I mean?
Like what they're choosing?
Yeah, yeah.
So what you can do is we can add, so here are some more text boxes. Choose a member type below to join as a new member. That's what your members or prospects would see. What I would do, we can either A, change the name of your member types, but of course it can't be like this long drawn out explanation, so we can add an explanation in here if you think that would be helpful for your members.
Okay, yes, I do. And if it's, because we'll have a different, since our members pay different things right now, the independent schools have one fee, so we'd have 3 different applications basically, right? We'd have one for international schools, and we'd only have that one member type available, right? And then one for public tuition charter schools, and just that one member type option available for each of the applications. So we could say, please click here to complete the application if you are an independent school in the United States, or something like that,
Yes,
and then
we can absolutely do that. So in that case, we would just, in this instance, we would only allow them to choose one of these member types, right? And then we would just link this membership application, and you're exactly right. We would say, if you're this type of member, please fill out the application here. And then this will only allow them to choose this one member type, so they can't mess that up.
Right, exactly. Okay, perfect.
Okay. Awesome. Same thing, so there's some other text down here to renew your membership, choose from the membership options below, so we can edit this text if you want to. To update and renew your organization's membership, choose from the membership options below. So same thing. This is the renewal section, this renewal option. They're going to renew as whatever they already are.
Right.
And then we would just need to set up our payment processor and revenue account that this money would go into for each of these different member types.
Okay.
So if all of them is going to go into membership dues, then we can just select membership dues for each of these different member types.
Right, and it would.
Okay, great. So I'll go ahead and just throw these in here.
So so we do have, this application process where we have to verify certain requirements. So, typically our process is they complete the membership form. I verify that they meet all of our requirements and then let them know. So they don't pay a immediately and they're not automatically added as a member. You know, there's a verification process that has to happen. So how can that be handled with this?
Absolutely. So what we would do from there is make this only offered for offline payment, which means that at the bottom when we get down here into the payment section, which we're going to move through all these sections together, we can make the properties for this that they are only able to pay offline.
Okay.
I know that there's a way for me to set that up. And I may just have to revisit how to do that, but we can set it up so that they can only pay offline. It's going to give your member a status of pending instead of like active, lapsed, or grace. There's a fourth one called pending. And so they will be a pending member until you review their application and then you change their status to active. The invoice will already be created for them. And then at that time you can either, that's exactly how that would work. So then at that time you can either send that invoice to them or you can void the invoice if they chose the wrong member type, or if they shouldn't be a member, you would just void the invoice. And either you can create a new one for the correct amount or just void it altogether.
Okay. Okay.
Does that seem like a good process for you?
It does.
Okay, good. Awesome. Okay, so moving through this membership application section, we've looked at the different member types that we can set up for them. We can look at the properties for the membership section. They can either enable the membership section so we can turn this off. We can require the membership section, meaning that they have to fill it out. But we can make fields in here required just themselves, so then we don't have to do it as a section. We can just do it as like a form field level. Display the application for new users and prospects, which yes, we obviously want to do that. And then if you want this to act as a renewal application so your members do have that option, we would just leave this last toggle toggled on as well.
Okay.
But that, I mean, display renewal area for users that are within their renewal period. So if you don't want them to, if you don't want your members to be able to take a renewal application, then we would just toggle this off.
Right, right, okay.
Okay. Now, one other thing that I want to note is this is once again, what your members will see when they get ready to take this section. They'll see membership application. So if you want to change the name of that, we could do that in here.
Okay.
Do you want me to go ahead and do that for you?
Sure. We could do independent school application.
Okay. Well.
Or independent school membership application, I guess.
Okay. So once again, I'm just going to the properties for this section and I'm renaming it.
Okay, gotcha.
I think forms is the hardest kind of thing to grasp because there are so many settings, but that's why we try to create as many as we can for you. And so then maybe in the future you'll just be able to copy them.
Copy them, yeah.
Yeah.
And we really don't have, that's what I was thinking as well. We don't have, besides the membership application, in the event application, I mean, we don't have a ton of events where we'll use, one major conference a year that'll be big, but that usually stays the same from year to year with a few settings, so we'll be able to copy it.
Okay, great. So moving down into the body, it's always going to, this technically said organization name. It's always going to ask. So there's an organization section, and you'll notice this area here is labeled organization information. And then down here, if we just scroll through the organization section, there's the individual section. So the organization section is going to create the organization, or in your case, the school, I think it's the school's profile.
Right.
And then I'm going to look at something. So it's going to create, in this case, the school's profile, which would fall under this member type. And then the linked profile would be the key contact and would create this member type profile.
Okay.
So going back into our form, there's a lot that I filled out underneath the organization, but I wasn't really sure what needed to be collected in the individual, which is totally fine because
Okay.
this is all, we can change all of this. But anyways, this originally said organization, and I changed it to say school name because I felt like that was more applicable to what you would be asking for.
Right.
And then we kind of headed into some of the things like head of school and principal. So now when I get ready to create these fields to add into my form, what I would do is come underneath add form elements. And we have a couple of different things we can choose from. So we have those built-in attributes we've talked about. In this case, like address, all I did was grabbed my address and pulled it into the form.
Okay.
If I click on it, it's going to take me to element properties for this specific form field. So I can rename this if I want to. I can make it required. I can decide which members can see this and which members can't. And I can also delete it.
Okay.
So anytime you use a built-in or a custom attribute are those things that we set up as custom attributes. And I probably mentioned like this will make more sense why we're doing it this way when we get to forms, when we were doing this. And now I think it kind of will start to click. But things like website, all I have to do is come into my add form elements, find my website custom attribute, and drag it in.
Okay, great.
Once again, if I click on that form field, I can change the name if I want to. I can make it required. Some other things in here to mention. Anytime we use custom or built-in attributes, so these two tabs, it's going to have a little head next to it, you'll notice.
Okay.
This means that it's saving the information in your member's profile. So anytime you see this little head, it means it's going to go right into your member's profile and stay in there.
Okay.
If you see anything like head of school principal, there wasn't a custom attribute I don't think that we created for this, so I use a form field. If we use a form field, the information will not be stored in the profile. Notice there's not that little head next to it.
Okay.
These look just the same as what we did when we created them at the attribute level, when we were creating those custom attributes. There's a couple of differences that I want to point out in here, though. So I'm going to use the bottom, and we're going to review all those sections together. But to actually look at it, we have country. So this is the drop-down of the country. You can change what we're collecting. So you could say, please select the most recent country you went to. If I could type. Whatever you want this to read, however you want to ask the question, and it's going to pop up, right in that area.
Okay.
This export name, we always want to update whatever our label is to the export name, because if we export this information into an Excel document like I showed you earlier, this export name is going to be the header in the column, the name of the column header.
Got it.
Okay. Once again, we can make this required. We can allow multiple selections on this one, so all of the element properties are going to be a little bit different for each of these form fields because they have some different things, but they're all going to be generally the same. So like in this case, you can select multiple countries if you want, just by toggling on multiple selections. Okay, and then I can delete.
So I have a quick question. So if this is an application for new members, why would we set, so under the permissions, the group permissions, where it says, enable who, I can't remember exactly how it read, but enable these groups to view this information. Why, I guess I don't understand, how that's applicable. Why would groups, let's say there's an independent school who's already a member in the system, why would they look at this form since it's for new members?
So they typically wouldn't.
Okay.
And that's why typically for renewals, they're just going to renew their, is that what you're talking about, just for renewals? They're
Well,
typically
no,
just,
well, if we're just talking about new members, we want to be able to have this application open basically to anybody, um, any prospective members, rather than. So I guess I just don't understand why that field is there, unless it's just a standard thing on this form.
is it this field that you're talking about? Which field?
It was no, it was under. I think it was under form settings. No. No, I can't. It was when you edited one of the fields. So there, permissions, edit group permissions. So if this is an application for new members, so a school that is not already in the system, and they come in and apply to join NCGS, I guess so see where it says under permissions, edit group permissions,
Mm-hmm.
and it's 8 groups. So why do those
Matter.
matter? Yes. Thank you.
A lot of times what people will do is a lot of times people are using 5 membership applications, right? And it's not because they want their member to only choose one, like in your case, we would maybe make different membership applications because you only want your member to, the member type name isn't very clear, so we can define what membership application they want to take and only allow them to have one choice for their member type. So that for them, for your purpose, is kind of more straightforward, but for a lot of other people, the only reason they have 5 different membership applications is because they are collecting different information on their different member types.
Okay.
And so if let's say that you needed to collect personal information from me if I was a student, or information on my parents, but you wouldn't need to collect that information if I was a school, but you wanted to have the same membership application, I can set those permissions so that if I choose the student member type, I'm the only one who sees that information about my parents. The school.
Okay. I see now. I get it now. Okay. I thought it meant for schools that were already members in the system would see the application. I don't know. I was confused. I see. I think I get it now. So that makes sense. Sorry.
No, you're totally fine. All of this stuff is so new. Yeah, so in this case, if on one of your if you wanted to use this for 2 different member types and you only wanted to ask this question for one of the member types, then you can just edit the group permission. So once somebody chooses one of the member types, they'll only see the things that we've permissioned for them to see on the application.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, good. Go. No problem. Okay, I think we were just walking through these different fields. So to kind of continue to walk through these, just to show you what they'll look like on your form, all we have to do is drag. This is going to ask for a date, a file, like if you want a resume. And once again, you can change what these are labeled, the name of them. Please upload your resume.
Oh, great. And can you add as many file uploads?
Yes.
If you need to? Okay, cool.
Yeah, there's not a limit that I know of.
Okay.
Same with image. Okay, number is going to get a little silly. So we can use this number field technically for 3 different things. Right now we could say, what's your age? That's just going to be a number.
Mm-hmm.
So they can fill that out. Now remember, we always want to put this as the same as our export name as well.
Mm-hmm.
So this would just be a number. Now, we can also make this a price field.
Okay.
So if you have an event and you're charging a specific amount for the event, we can put in a price field.
Okay.
Now there is another option. We can either time something by 1. So the only kind of thing that has come up where I've needed to use this so far is somebody was selling books. And they said, each book, so the price per unit, each book was $30. And they would say, how many books would you like to purchase? And then your member would fill out, 6 books or something like that. And then it would times it by 30, and that would be the line item price on the invoice that it would create.
Okay.
We can also just make this a currency input. You would use this like for a donation. How much of a donation would you like to make to our organization at this time?
Okay.
And your member can just put in a price that they want to put in.
Okay.
Okay. Anytime we're using a money field, we want to make sure that we're setting up where that money is going to by editing the payment processor and revenue account.
Mhm.
We can also change what the line item says. So if we don't want it to say what's your age, we could say whatever we wanted the line item to say on the invoice itself.
Okay.
We can choose any revenue account that we want this money to filter into.
Okay.
Now,
so we sell publications. So this would be a good example. Well, the other one where you multiply it by the per unit amount. Now, can you add that field again as many times as you need to?
yes.
Okay.
The only thing is they would have to have different export names. So
right.
like so we just wouldn't be able to call them each field the exact same thing, but we can add as many as we want. We would just have to call them something different.
Okay. And they would be called something, like we have 5 publications that we sell, so we could call it by the name of the publication, saying, how many of this would you like to order, or how many of that would you like to order?
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so that would be exactly how you could do that. Selection set can also be a price field. So
okay.
in this case, you could say which events would you like to attend?
Okay.
So maybe you're having a conference that has multiple events.
Uh-huh.
Now, we can just make selection sets. So we could just say, Tuesday's event, Wednesday's event,
right.
Friday's event. And then your member can select one of those events that they'll attend. They can also, if we want to, I hope maybe you can think back to when we talked about attributes, but we can also select these different ways that this can show up. So if we wanted them to be able to choose multiple Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, then we would give them multiple select option.
Okay.
And we can, play around. There's a single select, meaning they can only choose one drop down. There's a multiple select drop down where they can still choose more than one, but it's a drop down. Now what we can also do is make this a price field. So by toggling on price field, now it's going to allow me to edit selections, option limits, and base pricing.
Okay.
So what we can do is okay, so Tuesday's $35 for that event, Wednesday's $35 for this event, but Friday is $100 for that event. What we can also do for selection sets is limit. So let's say that this conference only has 20 seats. Only 20 people are allowed to choose each of these. Maybe Fridays has 100 seats though, because this is a bigger one. The second that 20 people select one of this option, it'll be grayed out and they won't be able to select it anymore.
Okay. So
now we have that money that's affiliated with those. So if they choose all 3 of these, there's going to be a line item for $70 on your invoice, charging them for their events.
Okay. If
go ahead.
If it doesn't have a price tied to it, and let's just say it was an option, can you still limit it? So let's say we just wanted to have people sign up for something that we're offering within the conference, but we're not adding, it doesn't cost extra to attend, but we just want to get, we don't want 50 people to sign up without, we don't want 50 people to sign up if there's only space for 25.
Absolutely.
But not pay for it, yeah.
So I would just toggle back off the price field, and it still gives me those options without having the price field in there. So this will still limit.
Okay, perfect.
Going back to the price field, did it save them? Yeah. We always need to make sure we once again set up that payment processor. So in revenue account, so we want to say where the revenue account's going.
Okay.
And then lastly, there's this other little thing now called member type pricing. So let's say that for some reason, public charter and tuition-free members don't have to pay for this event, then we can put in $0.
Oh, okay.
So when they sign in with their account, if they're one of those 3 member types, they're only going to see this pricing field.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, and we can do that for all of our member types just by selecting, like prospect public. Maybe they have to pay more. So for prospect public, they would have to maybe pay $100 for all of them. Maybe $200 for Friday. So that's the pricing that they'll see. And we'll just want to do that for all of our member types. So we'll want to come through here and mark, okay, well, this one's the same as the base price, so we're just going to put this the same. This is the same, so then we'll just have to put in, okay, well, this is the same. And we can make this, you know, as specific as we want. Okay, well, year 3 member, they're different, so they only pay 10. And then we can save that. So this has created that member type pricing.
Okay.
A couple of other things to look at. State is easy. That's just drop down state field. And text. Text would just ask them a question, you know, what are your credentials? You can make any of these required by selecting, so like you always have this required option. And then we can make this a text area, meaning they have unlimited space to type instead of a text box.
I have a question about, so for countries, are all the countries automatically listed? And then for state, is that just U.S. states, or is it provinces? Okay, provinces, I see.
Yeah, we can make these available by selecting.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
So then, and I'm running out of time, so we can review this again on our next call. Forms is just a lot.
Yeah.
But I do want to delete these fields. So I'm just selecting the form field. It's taking me to the element properties, and I'm just deleting these. But something else that I wanted to point out are we also have under our form elements, we have presentation items. So this is exactly what it sounds like. These are just how the form is presenting itself to your member.
Okay.
So once again, if we forgot to check those boxes appropriately when we made this form, we can just drag in an event section. So this is where we could create the information for the event.
Okay, I see.
We can just grab in a general section. So the general section would be used if it's neither for an event or membership.
Okay.
We also have some items like this horizontal line. It's literally just a horizontal line, like maybe making a separation between your sections. A label is just going to be an open box where you can provide information. So if you needed to add some, you know, like info, carpool info, or whatever it may be, you can do it right in here.
Okay.
A page break is just going to, and you can only use a page break in a general section, which I think is annoying, but yeah, you can only use it in a general section. But what that'll do is if you're asking too many questions and you just feel like the page scrolls and scrolls forever, you can use that page break so it'll make them select next, take them to the next page, and they can continue their questions on that page.
Oh, okay, great.
And then lastly, white space is just exactly what it says, just a little white space.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
Now if I want to delete this whole general section, I just select properties for the section and I can delete it. Same thing with the event section, properties, and delete. Okay. Now we have a couple of other sections to review really quickly. The summary section is just going to be after they complete all of the questions with their information. We can allow them, we can turn this on, which I already did that because I think it's helpful, and we can choose what sections they summarize, just making sure they gave the correct answers.
Okay.
The payment section, we would need to set up our payment processor and our default invoice template, or not default invoice template, but a default invoice template.
Uh-huh.
I need to set up offline payment only for you
Right.
for approval. But what you can also do is you can give them the option. So in this case, this is forcing them to pay with a card, but this is also giving them the opportunity, if you toggle this on, to pay later with an invoice.
Okay. Right.
So that would be like if they sent you a check. We're going to do something a little bit different for your membership application since they only can pay offline.
Right.
And I'll definitely make sure we walk through what that process looks like together, but I don't want to waste our time with me trying to get it set up the right way.
Okay. Perfect.
And then lastly, we have a confirmation section. Once they hit submit, they're going to come up with this confirmation. If you want to edit this text, once again, all you have to do is select this text box, select Edit Confirmation Page, and you can change the text.
Okay.
You can also use your properties and turn on a confirmation email. So that means that they're going to see this page when they complete the form, but they'll also receive an email confirming that they submitted the form as well.
Okay.
Something that I love about...
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, will once the form is submitted, can we set it so that I receive an email as well saying, so and so submitted this form or whatever?
Yeah, that's perfect. So you can edit the confirmation email, and what I like to do, add whatever verbiage, but then you can also use this merge data tool at the bottom, and you can merge things in like the either data from their profile or data from the form, and you can add in things like the submission total.
Okay.
And this is just going to self-populate from the form. So then you can do things like the submission date.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it's, specifically for a membership application, you can say member type that they chose. And then what you can do is at the top, you can BCC yourself on this.
Oh,
so then you'll receive, so then you'll receive a little email letting you know, okay, this member just applied, they chose this member type, this is their, this is their information. I need to go in the system and review it.
Okay, great.
Now, we didn't get to look at all these forms or all these fields on the form, and we can change this. This is wrong. How does this need to be set up?
It's based on, because all of our schools just have such varying grade levels. But I know I was looking at that, and I need to think about how that can be changed. I think it might just need to be a text box. I don't know. Let me think about that, but I don't think that it makes sense to have all of those options.
Right, yeah, and we can limit it, like we can take some of these away, but yeah, this one's a little confusing.
We could do is say, we could say grade levels, elementary school, middle school, high school, or, elementary, whatever, and then they could type in their specific grades, just so we know specifically what they are, because some, consider themselves to be middle school and they're grades 5 through 8, but some are middle school and they're only 6 through 8. So, anyway, but yeah, we can definitely take that, reduce that. So, and there are some other like custom questions that we want to add to. So I'll go through this and look at it, because there's some new questions that we want to ask new members. Like, how did you find out about us, or what are what do you value in your membership, things like that. So, but I can go through this and kind of play around with it, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love that. And if you are hesitant to play around, I mean, you're not going to break anything, but if you feel hesitant or, whatever it may be, just write down any changes or edits or ideas that you have. Make sure you let me know if you want to add any fields, like whether you want the information you're collecting to be tied into your member's profile or not.
Okay.
Because if we want it tied to the member's profile, once again, we'll need to use a built-in or a custom attribute. If we just want it for that form purpose only, we would just use a form field.
Okay, perfect.
But yeah, go ahead and come in here, take a peek, look around. Something else that you can do is And I can send some instructions on how to take our forms, like just to test them. But you can also, like we can say take this form. We can create a test account. I might already have one. No, I'm going to proceed as a new profile. You can create a new test account. So I call this like test at memberclicks.com. We could proceed as a new profile. And you can just look in here at how these forms are set up on the front end. So this will give you a good idea of like what it's asking. So we can only choose one member type.
Okay.
You know, total enrollment. Yeah, we'll need to definitely make some edits on these fields and stuff together and look at them as to what makes sense. But this would all be the information on the organization's profile. Then we would need to gain information on the individual's profile. There's some stuff in here that's required that I didn't fill out. But then we would go into the individual's questions, like just for the individual's profile linked to this organization, and kind of so on and so forth. So just come in here, play around. Do you want to go ahead and schedule another time, maybe that we can either, we could just use another training on forms, but we might be able to do our social community as well. Do you want to go ahead and set something like that up?
Yeah, let me see. What works? Next week is going to be really hectic. So I'm thinking the week after might be a little better. But at least that will give me time to really go in and have all of my final questions. Because I don't, I think the social media part is not, or the social community isn't going to be, because we're not really using that as much. I still want to learn about it, but I think that's going to be a smaller, shorter.
Okay, and I have a video that goes over exactly what I go over in my training, so I'll just send that to you, and if you have any questions from the video, then you can just come back with those specific questions as well, if you want to do it that way.
Okay, that sounds great. So could we do, let's see, maybe like the 16th?
Yeah, or morning or after?
Either one, whatever works for you.
Do you want to do like 3 o'clock on the 16th?
Okay, that sounds great.
Okay, and I'll send call-in credentials right after. Well, I've got a call now, but then right after that call, I'll send you some call-in credentials.
Okay, that sounds great. Okay, perfect.
All right, well, you just let me know if you have any questions for me. I'm going to be sending some info your way shortly. And in the meantime, if you have anything at all for me, just let me know, okay?
I will. Thanks so much, Adrienne. I appreciate it.
No problem. I look forward to talking to you soon. Have a good weekend. Bye.
You too. Bye.